As we've been reporting, the Senate voted to advance a resolution that could limit President Trump's ability to continue military action in Venezuela without congressional approval. It comes as the president told the New York Times in a wide-ranging interview that he could see the U.S. having direct oversight of Venezuela for years. For more, CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata joins me. Charlie, what would it take militarily for the U.S. to run Venezuela for more than a year?
Lindsay, it would take a lot, and it really depends on the situation in Venezuela when those troops are sent in there and what their responsibility would be. So if you were to compare it to, say, Panama, right, the invasion of Panama, they had a population of 4.6 million. Those are 27,000 U.S. soldiers that went in there in addition to the 10,000 or so that were already there. Venezuela has a population of 28 million, and it's larger in size by compared to Iraq. And Iraq, I mean, they were dealing with a full-blown insurgency, but you were seeing between 130,000 to 170,000 during the surge. But again, you are talking about dealing with an insurgency there. And that's one of the unknowns when it comes to Venezuela, because there are groups called the colectivos, which are armed civilian groups. They're already operating there. There are government forces in there, FARC, Colombian rebels just across the border, who might go in and fill that vacuum, and of course the cartels. So there's any number of moving parts that the U.S. military would have to address, especially if there are going to be U.S. citizens going in there, as the Trump administration has sort of suggested, in investing in the oil industry there. So it's a sliding rule. And I can tell you, they don't have the number of forces there now. They've got plenty of warships at sea. They've got the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier, plenty of air power, but nowhere near the amount of land forces they would need if they were to go into Venezuela in any meaningful way.
We're also learning more about these oil tankers recently seized by the U.S. What can you tell us?
Yeah, well, a lot. So there were two of them that were seized at about the same time, but two completely different scenarios. So the Sophia was kind of in the Atlantic. It had headed from Venezuela. It was full of oil. That was taken in a more traditional way, like the Skipper that you and I have discussed in the past few weeks, where you had Coast Guard who interdicted that cargo ship and took it away and intercepted it. The Bella 1, as it was called, and then it was renamed by the Russians to the Marinera, it had a Russian flag on it, and that was official. The Russians claimed that ship. So it was there essentially to act as a deterrent. In fact, the Russians had sent a submarine in order to escort that cargo ship, that oil tanker that you're seeing there. In that case, those were Navy SEALs that dropped onto that ship. In addition to that, it was also supported by special forces groups, the same kind of special forces groups that were part of the extraction of Nicolas Maduro. So you're talking about the most elite teams for something like that. Why? Because that was intercepted and interdicted in the North Atlantic, not in the Venezuela region. So you're talking about essentially a military operation. And anytime you're dealing with potential of a Russian conflict, you've got to have the force protection to do that.
Charlie D'Agata, thank you.
Thank you.